Grounded is an arts, wellness, and media brand that is rooted in healing through creativity and culture. Create space and time with Grounded and be inspired to lead a well balanced life. Live your life authentically and freely with Grounded. Hello, beautiful beings. You're now tuning into the Grounded podcast, where we share your wellness, art, and lifestyle stories to connect and inspire. I'm Bianca Yuzon Henares, and we're coming at you today from EPX headquarters. Today's guest is an actress, host, and supermodel who, over her long and fruitful career, has graced the stage, our screens, and various magazine covers internationally, also gracing our hearts along the way with her warmth, charm, inner and outer beauty. An avid yogi and yoga teacher, she led the Philippine leg of the Global Mala Project, the largest unified worldwide yoga event in history dedicated to promoting positive change in the world. Her creativity and love for the arts also shines through art consultancy, fashion design collaborations, and as an entrepreneur and producer. A wonderful wife and mother of two, soon to be three. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm, grounded welcome to the one and only alluring goddess, like woman of the world, Teresa Herrera.
Wow, thank you so much.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi.
Welcome to the Grounded podcast. We are so excited to have you here. Finally, introduction aside, can you tell us a bit about yourself, in your own words, your passions, like what makes you tick?
Well, you did such a great job introducing me. I was
Thank
like, wow,
you.
who's that? I
That's
got
you.
tired just listening to it.
I had to condense
that.
that. I had to condense that, by the way. I was like, oh, she does so much.
Aw, thank you so much. But who am I really?
Mm-hmm.
I am a mom of two boys. That's how I identify myself pretty much these days.
Okay.
I'm a creative. I'm a curious being. But who am I really, really? I am a Pisces. I am a manifester in human design.
Woohoo.
I am a dragon in feng shui. Or in Chinese astrology. What else? I love dogs. I love nature. I love scuba diving. It's pretty much rounds it off.
Nice. You're a girl, a woman after our own hearts. I'm also a water sign baby.
You are.
I'm a Cancer. So
Oh gosh.
that's why
Yes.
we vibe.
We totally vibe.
So, having lived all over the world, you lived in New York, LA, Hong Kong, to name a few places. Were there any cultural practices that stood out to you or that you adopted as your own and picked up along the way that you kind of still practice in your daily life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think in my early years, in my early 20s, when I was traveling around Asia working as a model, that's how I came across meditation.
Oh, wow.
I was living in Thailand. I came across a monastery that I was like, what's this about? And then I was introduced to the practice of meditation.
Wow.
And so it was the old school style where they're like, oh, you want to learn? Okay, come here, sit. And then they don't tell you anything and they don't talk to you
Oh
for
my
like
goodness.
hours. And then you're just like, okay. The first day I lasted maybe like 45 minutes. And then the next day I came back, it was like an hour. The next day I came back, it was just getting longer and longer. And then, I think that's part of how they train you. I still was trying to figure it out. But so that opened a path for me. And since I was traveling on my own in my early 20s and I had a lot of time for self-discovery, I wasn't really a party person and fortunately I worked a lot. So my call times were always like 7 in the morning.
Right.
That I didn't really go out at night. So I would read books and it really opened up this whole world of the metaphysical and what is beyond life and how do we live the most and get the most out of life here and now, so that kind of started, I was like maybe like 18.
Wow.
And then I came across yoga when I was 19 through Shiva Ray when I went back to LA and I started going to a yoga studio, which was down the street from where I lived, and it was called Yoga Works.
Wow.
And that studio was back then, it was like a mom and pop shop, it wasn't like corporate yoga how it is these days. And it was just really like, it was a cool vibe. It was a good time.
Wow, so meditation from Thailand and
Yeah.
yoga from LA.
From LA,
And I just want to say, wow, your first day, you lasted 45 minutes. That's no small feat. because like without them saying anything, that's kind of a long time.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. It reminded me of Eat, Pray, Love, where same thing. They don't. You figure it out for yourself. You go within, and yeah. With your modeling career and acting career, have you taken any bits from the stage that have contributed to your self-development? Like, for example, hyper body awareness, discipline, mindfulness.
For sure. You know, people think that just because you're in the arts or you're in the creative field that it's permission to be flighty, which I don't believe in that.
Same.
I believe in work ethic. I believe that you show up and then your muse will show up. You know what I mean? Like, you got to wake up every day, do the work. If you're an actor, you go to class, you read plays, you read writers. That's the only way you're going to know good material from bad material, you know? And I studied with teachers, I mean, thankfully, who instilled that in me. I studied with acting coaches, Larry Moss, and then Shakespeare with Patsy Rodenberg, like, you know, and then I read a book, Twyla Tharp, The Creative Habit, which I really love. And to this day, she's like, it's about showing up every day and doing the work. And then inspiration strikes, you know?
Right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Neil Gaiman kind of said the same thing.
Yes.
And like, the muse will show up, but she has to find you working or she'll get out the door.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nothing for me here. I'm actually currently reading The War of Art. And it touches on the same subject. It's like everybody has this certain resistance, and it's your duty, it's your job as an artist every day to just get out there, put yourself out there, and like do the work.
Do the work, show up.
As you
it's
mentioned.
Practice. Just like you do in meditation or yoga, you practice. I believe it's the same in creativity, you know? It's a practice. You have to show up daily and be open and available.
How did you come to really commit and fall in love with yoga to the point that you wanted to be a teacher, and what do you like best about it?
Oh, good question. I wasn't that perfect yoga student, definitely. I was, you know, I rolled into class late. I would go, but I just remembered when I walked out of class, I felt good. And then how do I extend and make that feeling last? So my 1 day a week became 3 days a week, and then became every day. Wow. And then I ended up taking a part-time job at the studio so I could, you know, do yoga for free. And then I think when I started studying with Shiva, I started yoga in 1996, and I think in 2005 Shiva was like, you know, you might want to think about teaching, because she just thought, you know, it wasn't something I thought I was going to get into and, oh, I'm going to become a yoga teacher. No, but I just remembered how I felt and how it made me feel walking out. And you feel open. And, you know, they talk about that yoga high, but it's really, you just feel open and so much love, and you feel at one with the universe. And then the more classes you go to or the more teachers you study with, you just get a deeper understanding of the world and the environment around you. And I like that. And so with Shiva's encouragement, she was like, yeah, you might want to think about it. And so I ended up doing teacher training with her.
Nice. Yeah. One thing led to another, and then before you knew it, you were a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
I get what you mean about that high that you get after yoga. You vibrate on a certain frequency, and then after a while you look for it, and anything less than that, you're like, I want to get myself back on that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So do you have any favorite types of yoga that you stick to, or do you like to change it up? And what do you teach as a
Well, I started
instructor?
out doing Ashtanga yoga for about 3 years. That's where I really started with Chuck Miller and Matthias Ratti. And then, of course, like a creative flow with Shiva Ray, you know, which is a prana vinyasa flow, breath-initiated movements. And then Shiva taught this class called Yoga Trance Dance. And that's what I fell in love with yoga, because Yoga Trance Dance is a mixture of yoga and freeform dance. Wow. And you get to use so many cool music from African beats, you know, Brazilian drumming. And I could use reggae. I could use Marvin Gaye, and then go to hip hop, you know.
That's so interesting, because when people think of yoga, usually you think of those spa, Zen instrumentals. But here you're saying you could use all kinds.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what I teach. I know I'm certified in prana vinyasa flow, but then I teach yoga trance dance during the Global Mala Project.
Nice.
Yeah.
And can you tell us more about the Global Mala Project? Because you organized the Philippine leg.
Yes.
And based on what I read, it was happening all around the world.
Yes.
And you had all these yoga classes available, as well as healthy food, talks, and other activities. It was kind of like our local Coachella festival for yoga, except not as expensive, and all the proceeds went to charity.
Exactly. We wanted to make it accessible. Well, again, Shiva is the catalyst for the event. I was working with her part-time as well, and then she came back from a hike one day, and she was like, you know what would be cool is if there was like an event that we could like form a mala around the earth. And a mala is like a rosary bead. You know, it's a meditation bead.
Okay.
You form a mala around the earth, and you know, you create this one day of using yoga as peace in action. That's kind of how that started. We're like, oh, cool idea. Let's start with LA. And so the idea was to unite 108 yoga studios in LA first and go with that, but we hit that target in like a week.
Nice.
So and then the rest of her other teachers from all over the world are like, well, can we have one in Sydney? Can we have one in London? Can we have one in Copenhagen? And then she was like, why don't you do one in the Philippines? You know what I mean? And like,
looking
honestly,
at you,
and I'm like, I'm not an event producer, but I'll ask my sister if she can help me. So yeah, that's kind of how that started. And I remember our first year, it was 2007. I think there was like one yoga studio in Manila at the time. There wasn't a lot. But the awareness was there. The seed was there. So we kind of grew with the community. We had 60 people that came to the first event, and that included the teachers, you know? So, and I'm just so grateful and happy to see how the event has grown, and the community has really embraced it as its own. You know, it's a community event.
Yeah, cut to now, and people are like, when's the next one?
Yeah, we had about 850 people attend last one.
That's amazing.
Last year, yeah.
Wow. Well, we at Grounded would love to join.
We would love to have you.
We're already there. From finding out you were pregnant for the third time now, how have you managed to continue to stay so fit? Because if I didn't know, like if I only saw you from up here, I'd be like, what? She's pregnant? And how do you keep moving? Do you have any tips for other pregnant women out there that want to stay active but do it in a way that's safe for mom and baby?
Absolutely. Well, I'm a yogi. I'm a yoga practitioner. So yoga for me has been pretty much, I've done yoga all throughout 3 pregnancies. But I also have to say, when my belly started to get bigger, I needed some support. So Pilates really helped as well, because you have the reformer to kind of take on some of that weight. So that really helps keep the muscles toned and long.
So there's a specific prenatal, is it like for the first trimester, second, third, or can you do it throughout?
There's different movements. I mean, they have different prenatal yoga classes in studios. For myself, the first trimester is probably your most sensitive. So you want to stick to more like lengthening postures, taking things really slow. You wouldn't jump into a normal practice like you would in a normal yoga class. You know, I would take things like, I would dial it down 2 times slower, nothing that would contract your abdomen, your middle part, because you want to make sure that the baby is formed before you start doing any exertion in that area. Some people are different. Some people like to go, hey, I have like,
hardcore.
Yeah, like let's do HIIT movement
All
and
out.
like all out. Let's do CrossFit. Like, great, but that doesn't work for me. For me, it's like all about creating harmony, creating space, and breathing. Breathing is so important, and meditation is so important.
I guess you have to know what works for you as well.
For sure.
Someone was telling me recently, one of my friends just gave birth, and she was saying, you know, if you've always stuck to like a really rigid workout schedule and you're that fit, or like you've done marathons, when you're pregnant, you can still not maintain that level of exercise, but your body won't get shocked.
Yeah.
But if you, let's say, live a more sedentary lifestyle and then like
true.
you get pregnant, you really need to pace yourself.
Yes.
That's what she
Also,
told me.
like, it's not just about physical exercise. I believe total body fitness is about 70% nutrition.
Right.
What you're eating, because people say, oh, okay, I'm doing yoga 5 times a day, or I'm doing whatever, boxing. but I'm not losing weight. I'm just like, well, let's look at your nutrition. What are you eating? You know, I would say that's probably more important, what you put in your body.
Like a bigger percent.
That's a bigger percent. And like,
Right.
I would say 30-40% is your movement, what you decide to do, whether it's walking, boxing, biking, swimming. Like, I love swimming. I like full body exercises that are free, that I can just walk out of my house and go walk around the block.
Anytime.
Like, let's be real.
Walk your dogs.
Yeah, it's got to be something accessible. You know, I don't want to sit in traffic for 30 minutes to try to get to a gym. You know what I mean? It's got to be something that you can maintain for a long period of time if you want to have a healthy lifestyle.
You were talking about how diet plays a big role in overall physical wellness and well-being.
Absolutely, yeah.
But what do you adhere to in like your own life? Do you stick to diet, or is it more of a lifestyle?
It's really a lifestyle of eating whole foods, organic, a lot of greens, bone broth. You know, it's. I've learned so many different, like, I'm not a big fan of that word diet. You know, I like to focus on more like nutrition. Like, what can you do to nourish your body? What are the foods that are based on that, and what works well for you? Like, what do you like to eat? You know, that has to be like, eating has to be an enjoyable experience. It can't be like,
Yeah, you can't be suffering,
you
or
can't be
what's the
suffering
point?
while you're eating. Otherwise, you're like, what am I doing to myself?
You feel
know?
deprived, and then after a while,
And then you binge, right?
and
So it's
then
got to
it's
be
a cycle.
something. Yeah. So like, you got to be just gentle with yourself, practical, see what works for you, see what you're allergic to. I think that's the number one thing that people are not aware of, what they're allergic to. Or like, say, if you're gluten intolerant, you could actually solve a lot of problems by seeing if you're gluten intolerant, because they're like, I'm gaining weight, I'm this and that. It's like, well, maybe there's some sensitivities or inflammation there that you're not aware of. So maybe get a baseline of like tests of, you know, your food sensitivities, your allergies, things like that. And then from there, create a sustainable, you know, whole food type lifestyle that you could maintain. That's accessible to you.
that's so important. That's accessible to you, that you love, that you're excited for meal times.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were saying, oh, it's so hard to be vegan or vegetarian in the Philippines because there aren't that many options. But you don't necessarily have to be fully plant-based. Like you said, you can find what works for you, maybe occasionally have meat. It's about, I feel, also discovering your own personal preferences and, like you said, allergies.
Yes, what you're allergic to and what's really nourishing foods. Understand which foods give you the proper fuel and energy versus foods that don't. You know, like anything sugar or processed or anything like that, that's really false energy. You want to stick to more like high fats, avocado, olive oil, you know, even bacon. Like, I love bacon. You know what I mean? It's like, you just need to, like, your body is a machine, and you just got to figure out, like, oh, what gasoline is the most optimal that I can put in my body for it to run well.
Do you find that time also affects like what time you eat? Because for some people, they follow an intermittent lifestyle. And then for some people, they say, oh, I don't like eating past 9 p.m. because I feel bloated.
Yeah.
For you personally, what works? Do you have 3 meals a day? Do you do like little meals?
I do 3 meals a day, yes. But when I'm pregnant, I get full fast. So I have more like smaller meals. So now I'm doing like 5 meals, 6 meals, but smaller, like every 2-3 hours, because I get hungry faster.
Because your baby's just like, okay, that's enough.
Yeah, or
And
just like there's no room.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it fills up faster. So I'm like, okay.
What to you is so healing about movement? Not just exercising to get ripped or to maintain your figure. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but more in movement as medicine.
Yoga is perfect for that, because yoga, the word yoke is to unite, you know, unite the breath and the body, your mind and your body. You know, it's about like really pulling all these things together so that there's a brain and heart coherence. And then you feel like, okay, I'm one. You know what I mean? That's the flip side benefit. I think that's the larger benefit of yoga, more so than the yoga butt or the asana
or the abs,
you know, or the abs or whatever. Like, that's great and all. That's asanas, and those are like physical, like toning for your muscles. But the bigger, I think, benefit is really like the grounding, the centeredness, the clarity of thought. You know, you learn how to handle situations, not just how you practice on the mat, is how you learn how to handle situations off the mat. So for example, when you come to a challenging asana and you're doing a handstand, let's for example, and you're like, and you're breathing so hard, like,
or you're muscling your way through it.
Yeah, you're muscling your way through. It's like, you're not going to get to that handstand. You know, you can't let your ego defeat you. That's when you learn to pull back, work with your breath, the breath works with the movement, and then before you know it, you're like in Shirshasana, you know, which is that headstand.
It's like you find the ease.
You find the ease, and then you're like, oh, well, I could do this in life too. And then you learn how to navigate life, you know, and it becomes this beautiful dance.
So it works on and off the mat. That's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So Teresa, how do you view the current arts and culture community in the Philippines? Are there any events you look forward to every year, like art fair?
Absolutely. Oh gosh, it's so exciting, the art scene here, and it's really thriving, I think. Now more than ever, because of technology, people are given the tools to really be as creative as possible. Like, whereas before the barrier to entry was, the cost was so expensive, right?
Sure.
For a photographer, let's say, all the equipment and this and that and darkroom and printing. But now you can anybody could be a photographer. You can pick up
phones.
You have your phone, and you can just really be so creatively expressive these days, whether it's through visual arts, performing arts, you know, like music.
Right.
You know, it's like.
So who are some of your favorite local artists?
For visual arts, like I look forward to art fair every year. I go. Some of my favorites locally that comes to mind, there's so many, but right off the top of my head, like Maria Taniguchi. It's got a very minimalist, like very clean aesthetic. I also love street art, like street artists like Egg Fiasco, like those guys. They're really cool. Of course, Archie Giotina, Chichi Monster. I have him. I like photography. Tom Epperson. I love his work. And some younger photographers as well. There's so many. I don't know.
I'm sure the list is so long. But
I know. There's so many.
Off the top of your head, it was...
You know, we have an advantage because I think Filipinos are one of the most creative people, human beings on the planet.
I believe that. I feel that.
Inherently, our culture is very creative.
What's your take on arts as a tool for wellness?
Oh, good question. I think arts and spirituality and wellness is like two sides of the same coin, because I honestly believe that it comes from the same energy of creativity, and it can be used as a healing tool, you know? So like you hear about, and I'm sure you've done this with your children's workshops,
yes.
You know? Those are so effective and so needed in the community, because arts is healing. It's a way for people to express themselves and for them to come to back to themselves and become whole, you know? And I feel like through art you could do that.
In so many ways too, because
so
now
many ways.
I'm sure in LA you've heard of sound baths. That's a big thing now.
Yeah.
And then you have visual art therapy, and what else? There's just so many things out there. Last time I saw you, you were absolutely killing it when you starred and direct Jenny Hamora's interpretation of Every Brilliant Thing.
Oh, thank you.
A play by Duncan Macmillan and Johnny Donahoe, staged by Sandbox Collective and Nine Works. For those who aren't familiar with this production, it's a one-person, in this case, a one-woman, in-the-round audience interactive play that tackles mental health in a very, very unique way. Can you please tell us more about Every Brilliant Thing and what drew you to this script?
Oh, gosh, I love that play. I read it 2 years ago, and I was like, and it stuck with me, you know, and I found myself like affected weeks later.
Wow.
And I go, gosh, if ever I get this opportunity to perform this play, I'm in, like 100%, no question. And then, so I started having conversations and bringing it up to a few people, you know, and then I had a conversation with Toff of Sandbox Collective, and he goes, actually, we shortlisted this play the year before, but then they decided to go with another play of the same writer called Lungs, starring Jake Cuenca and Sab Jose. So they said, maybe we'll get to it. Or maybe they didn't know, like, because you said the structure is unique of how
Very.
that play runs. It's a one-woman show. It's theater in the round. It's comedy and improv all in one. Basically everything I was scared of. All in one
That's
play.
a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. But at the same time, it was such a beautiful story. The story of it is it's about a girl who creates a list of every brilliant thing there is about the world and about life and about living. And she presents it to her mom every time her mom comes back from the hospital from attempting to commit suicide. So you really see the innocence of how this character deals with mental health from 7 years old up until she's like 35 years old, and you realize at the end she has the same condition, and how she deals with it and what she's learned. So the play really takes you on a roller coaster of emotions of sort. But the magic of the play, I think, is the improv. It's when we cast audience members to play, to help me tell
Various
this
roles.
story. Yeah,
Right.
basically to help me tell the story. So I'd be like, okay, so do you mind if you could be my dad?
Yeah.
And I really I'm very respectful of people. I always try to ask them first, and I get this energetic yes from their eyes.
Oh
and
no,
then,
you were great, and the thing is, everyone was so game.
Yeah,
It was
that's
so
what made
fun.
it great.
Yeah, even like people who would normally be shy would be like, "Okay, I'll be your boyfriend."
Yeah, exactly.
And what was nice was every night the characters you interacted with would change because you don't know who's gonna be sitting in the audience, right?
Exactly.
So how did you prepare for this? Like, how did you get into the headspace for this role? So please tell us about your process.
Okay, so I was actually trained in theater in the States. So usually that involves, studying the script, of course, and then your character work would be like, you start with the physical, and then you start building the emotional life of the character, things like that. But for this particular play, I did the complete opposite, where instead of building and building and building onto one thing, I was like being as vulnerable as possible, where you strip away and strip away and strip away. It was like the complete opposite process of what I would normally do in building a character. It was about vulnerability. So I listened to a lot of Brene Brown's work.
She's fantastic.
She's fantastic. So I was listening to a lot of her books, her workshops about just being vulnerable. And at the end of the day, what I learned through this play and interacting with our audience is like just being present and being vulnerable. That's 100% human interaction right there. And that's as honest as you could get. And that was the biggest lesson for me.
Wow. That's so beautiful. And we could really feel that because your character went through so many things.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like laughing and then crying. And it felt so real. So congrats again.
Thank you so much.
Mental health is such a prevalent theme in every brilliant thing. At Grounded, we aim to create a safe space for everyone to be their most authentic selves. Why do you think speaking the truth about certain topics such as depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and the like is so considered so taboo in Philippine society? And what do you think people can do in their daily lives to kind of counter this and just shed more light and be like, it's okay?
Yeah, I think just, having the play as a platform to kind of open up the conversation and move the needle to let people know it's okay to talk about it. It's actually healthy to talk about it. I mean, we weren't trying to do anything like, create major movements, but it's more about just like you said, creating a safe space where people can feel like they can talk and it's normal. And we've all experienced it before at some point in our lives.
Right.
Anxiety, depression, some mental health challenges. We've all been there.
Because it is normal. And no
It's
matter
normal.
how much you try to sweep it under the rug, it will still be there. So you might as
Yes.
well face it head on together.
Together,
Yeah.
talk about it, and if you're going through it, reach out to someone, someone you trust, a friend, a colleague, a parent, or a mental health practitioner.
Right.
And just start opening up the conversation, because we're human and we all have the same human experiences. You know, that's one thing I know for sure is that, like, yeah, we could be doing different careers, but at the end of the day, we're both human, you know?
At our very core. And what was nice about the play was after everything, they showed like help hotlines for
Yes.
well, if anyone wanted to talk to someone at any point in the day. So that was really nice.
Yeah.
Where do you think there's room for improvement in the cultural or arts industry locally?
Wow, good question. It would be nice to see government supporting artistic programs and institutions and public institutions. It would
Yes.
be nice to see some funds being generated and
Much needed.
much needed. You know, if you have some artists that's going to abroad to learn more or something like that, or even just locally, let's just talk locally. Like, I would love to see more art events that is funded. Like, I wish we have a public art fund.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
That would be amazing. And we
Wow.
would commission like a Filipino artist once or twice a year to create original artworks, and we can place them around the city for the community to enjoy.
Yeah, like out there.
Out there,
In
it's
parks
public
or-
art, exactly. And you know, people are short-sighted. They think, oh, art, yeah, whatever. It's always like the first to get cut in any budget. It's like art, and you're like, you know what? Art makes this world a beautiful place. You need it.
It's important.
Yeah, not only does it add aesthetic value, it adds financial value to the community, because Filipinos are inherently creative people, and I think they deserve that opportunity.
Amen.
Hey, yeah.
And what is your dream role, whether for theater or film?
Wow, good question. It's always the next thing I'm about to do, which I don't know, you know?
Okay, that's
It's never
interesting.
anything that I've done before. It's always something that I've never done before.
Wow.
If it's film, I'd love to do a film where, you know, it's a female, of course, led
Yeah.
cast,
Yeah.
you know, and females carry most of the weight in the role, in the film. God, good question.
So that's not really specific, like, oh, I would love to be like Wonder Woman or something. It's more like whatever comes next, what's challenging that you
That's
haven't
kind
done
of
yet.
how I approach the projects I get into. It's always like, okay, what do I want to do next? Like, for example, when I came across Every Brilliant Thing, I'd already been considering, oh, I haven't been in the performance space for about 8 years. I'm like, maybe it's time.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't realize it's been 8 years just because, you know, life got busy. I started an art company. I got married. I had a child. I had a second child. And before you know it, like 6 years had gone by.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, wait. I need to find a story that I'm really passionate about, and let's tell that story. You know, it's like that. Like, I love to do many projects, multidisciplinary, whether it's visual arts or, you know, even helping
Nice.
kids or whatever.
Can you tell us about your multidisciplinary art studio, Collective 88?
Yes. So around 2008, I was filming the show Project Runway Philippines. And it was during one of those times that I was thinking, wow, this is a great show. And it only takes us 6 weeks to film it. So what do I do with my other, you know, I realized I had a lot of time.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, what do I want to do next? And I always ask myself that question, like, what would be the next most interesting project that would be the highest contribution and give the gifts I have? And I've always loved art, because before modeling and before any of that, I was supposed to go to Parsons in New York for painting and sculpture.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was really, so I started exploring that space again. I started attending art fairs in Miami and New York and, you know, London, and starting immersing myself in the art world. And then I met my mentor. So I always feel like the moment you start asking from the universe will answer and will show you if you listen. You know,
you gotta. That's the important part. You gotta listen.
you gotta listen. And how do you listen? You gotta quiet your mind in order for you to hear that voice.
And then you find the path kind of lights up.
Yeah, and it
So-
doesn't light up all the way.
Yeah.
It's not like South Superhighway or
No,
whatever.
no.
It kind of like lights up a little bit at a time, and like, oh, okay, this is the next signpost, and this is the next signpost.
Which led
So-
you to having your own kind of like a studio where you support local artists and
Correct.
get the word out there. Yeah.
Yes, correct. So around 2009, I started pivoting. End of 2008, 2009, I started pivoting and I started going into the art world. At first, I was very, very quiet about it. I would help people buy art It was really that simple.
Oh.
I'd help interior designers furnish condos and things like that and offer my services for free. And then around 2011, we were awarded the project for Solaire, where basically we curated, we produced, we, put together the entire art package for the property, from the public spaces to the private spaces, and the first phase and the second phase. So it gave us a chance to really sink our teeth into something creative on a long-term basis. So from 2011 to about 2013, I disappeared off the face of the performance world and anything visual or fashion, and I focused completely on building Collective 88 as an art company.
Teresa, you are absolutely glowing, and I'm not just saying that. I want to know how this pregnancy has been so far and how it's different from the first two. So can you shed some light?
Oh, thank you. I guess at this point in my life, I'm just really happy. I'm in a good place. I'm in a happy place.
Oh my gosh.
I'm 43 years old. This is our third baby.
Yeah.
Complete surprise.
Oh, you weren't expecting?
No.
Oh my goodness.
You know when I found out? I found out after the second weekend we opened the play.
You were pregnant?
I was pregnant. When we were doing every brilliant thing. But I couldn't say anything.
I'm getting stressed for you. That happened like months ago.
And that, you know how emotional and physical that play was, right? So, but I couldn't say anything. So the only people that knew was me and my husband.
Okay.
Because you're not even supposed to announce until you're in 10 weeks. Like there's a safe mark, right? So complete surprise, but we're taking it as it comes. And my other two boys have been just like so fun, and I'm really embracing the whole motherhood journey.
Oh, your baby's in for a ride. It's like, oh wow, mom, I'm like, I've been through all these like emotional
That's what my husband
exercises
says.
in the belly.
That's what my husband says. He's like, oh wow, this one's going to be very emotional. Very emotional indeed.
What are some of the biggest changes you've encountered ever since you became a mother?
Being more intentional and more purposeful with my time. I think how I spend my time, because now it's like my priorities are clear. It's really like first is family and my kids, and it's like anything that takes me away from them has to be worth it.
Okay.
No questions asked.
So thank you for your time this morning.
No, absolutely.
But what are the lessons you've learned since becoming a mom, aside from being more intentional? Is there anything that any wild card surprise that jumped out of you and was like, oh wow, I did not know that?
I think in general, the number one thing I learned is not to be so hard on myself, because before I had kids, I was that person who was like, okay, what's next? Let's produce, let's this, let's that. Wow. It was always like the next thing. And as a mom, I just learned to like sit back, relax, and wait for what's next to come to me. It's like, and no matter how much you plan, it never happens that way.
Right.
It never does. You can plan until you're blue in the face. It just never comes out that way. So just learning how to be really more fluid,
flexible,
in terms of schedules and things like that. So
that being said, do you have any tips for new moms?
New moms, I love you. Let's just be easier on ourselves. Let's give ourselves a break. Let's try not to fit into our size 2 jeans right after we give birth. Let's just, you just delivered a human being. And let's just nurture and nourish that. And you're nurturing the next generation of people. So how we are with ourselves is how our kids are going to see and model that.
Yeah, because they pick up on that.
Oh my God, they pick up everything.
Do you have any tips or advice for women who want to be mothers someday, such as myself? Like, how do you manage expectations and get over the fear of the pain of childbirth?
Yeah, I was really scared of that too. Because I waited for a long time. So I had my first baby at 39, and my second one at 41, and now I'm 43. So I waited. Definitely, if you want it, just hold on to the vision.
Dude, I'm so scared.
Yeah, it can be. It can be. But you have your partner. I mean, Quark is super supportive. Right, I think he's going to be the greatest dad.
I think if he could do the giving birth, he would do
it. He's so down like that.
Yeah. So, but like, any tips for people in the future? Like, were you freaking out about timeline before, or like were you like, oh, how will I manage this and that?
I think more so now
Mm-hmm.
because we have a third baby coming and
Mm-hmm.
you have a busy house. You have two
Right.
toddlers. How do I manage everyone's schedule? How do I make sure everyone's fed and
Yeah.
everyone's got to be where they need to be? It's about like time management and of course having help.
Mm-hmm.
Having help and a
Help you
supportive.
run the ship.
Yeah, you're directing the ship, so you need someone to like just help you, just keep an eye on them, or like if you need to, they need to be dropped off somewhere. It's a lot of communication, but at the same time, it's worth it. You know, just be patient with yourself, because I think more than anything, your kids are not going to be hard on you. You're always hard on you.
Oh wow.
You know, so you just got to learn like your kids are not going to be judging you no matter what. You're mommy to them and you're their world. So don't worry about like being perfect. You know, just show up present and full every day and be available to them.
Noted. I'm gonna rewind to this moment in
Yeah.
the future. And I think it's so what's nice about growing up here in the Philippines, I have a lot of friends who are moving back from London, the States, simply because the community is so big. We tend to have bigger families here.
Yeah.
So if you're busy and let's say mom can't take the baby, you've got like tita or your
Yes,
grandma. And
exactly.
everyone's always just like, leave them here and
Yeah.
like, never take them back.
And there's always a family day. There's always a family meal every week with the entire family. You know,
Good
I love
conversation.
that. Exactly.
Story, so nice. So you're one of our favorite online personalities.
thank you.
Viewing your posts is like getting a positivity injection.
Oh,
Every time.
thank you.
Marika was saying she regularly watches your IGTV. We were watching your farm at San Benito tour, and it,
Yeah.
I don't know, good vibes. Especially since she's pregnant as well.
Yes.
And you share tips and give updates on your own pregnancy. This is a question from her. She wants to know, how do you use social media productively and not let it slow you down or distract you from what needs to be done? Because we've all been there, like victims of mindless, like scrolling and stuff like that.
For sure. I've definitely been there. And it's a struggle. I have to say, you know, it's a struggle that we have to deal with every day. But I told myself that when I'm with my kids, my phone is not going to be anywhere near me.
Wow, that's
So I'm really
wow.
like, and I check my phone, first thing in the morning, 9 o'clock. I check all my emails. I check what I need to, send what urgent communication I need to. But the moment I'm with my kids, my phone is away. And I'll check email 3 times throughout the day. But I'm trying really hard to be present and not be attached to the phone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through a normal day in your life if such a thing exists?
Yes.
Like, do you have a routine or any rituals that don't change despite whatever else is going on in the agenda?
Exactly. So I have like a bookend for my day. So I have my 5 to about 7:30, and then I have my after the kids go down until about 9 o'clock. So the morning routine is always I wake up, I try to meditate, at least 20 to 30 minutes. And then I go walk my dog around the village, and then I start breakfast for the family. Or I light my incense or sage or Palo Santo, whatever. So I have some sort of blessing and cleansing for the house. And then I light a candle, and then I prepare breakfast. So when the kids come down, breakfast is ready, and there's a candle lit, and they always think it's their birthday. Because they're like, oh, happy birthday.
That's really sweet.
I try. And then in the evenings, after the kids go down, I like to do a little bit of self-care. So, of course, your bath, your masks, scrubs, whatever you need to do, your girly time. And then I've really started to make an effort to read more. So basically, as soon as the sun goes down, I don't touch my phone anymore.
That's so great.
I just like leave it in the bathroom, and it's plugged in. If people need to get a hold of me, telepathy, let's make it happen, people.
Pigeon mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't really need my phone after the kids go down.
Also because screens, like staring at the light,
That too.
keeps you up,
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
that's what I heard in the research that's coming out is the blue light.
feeds insomnia and things like that.
Exactly. So that's why I really just started. So I'm making more of an effort to read books again, and journal.
Oh.
Yeah, going back to journaling and dreaming and manifesting things.
Do you remember your dreams when you wake up?
For the most part, yes.
Wow. Cool. And how do you deal with multitasking in this fast-paced world? Because you do so many things. And I know you said you were focused now more on your family.
Yeah.
But then, no, I still feel like you're doing a million things. How do you
Yeah.
manage to do everything at the same time?
I actually don't do everything at the same time. I do
Okay.
different things at different times. But it just
Oh.
seems like I'm multitasking because they're all different projects.
And probably because of social media, we're like, oh, she's here now, but it could be
Yeah.
like a delayed post.
I'm queen of late posts. I never post in real time just because, like, I'll be posting something and I'm preparing it. And next thing you know, I'm like, Ace, don't touch that. And then I drop my phone and, like, trying to catch my son from jumping off something. And then I forget about the post. So I'm always, like, super delayed post. But for the most part, I'm trying to be more present. So if I'm fully engaged in a project, like we were doing Every Brilliant Thing,
It's just
pretty
that.
much that. I'm 150% in it. That's what I think, breathe, eat, sleep, that. And then we move on to the next project, and then I will be 100% in it, you know?
As a very hands-on mom, do you ever get overwhelmed? And how do you find that balance? How do you like recenter yourself?
Yeah, I do get overwhelmed a lot. You know, I used to experience severe anxiety in my 20s, and I
Okay.
spoke about it openly during Every Brilliant Thing whenever we had talkbacks. So I still experience it sometimes. And how I deal with it is meditation. I just try to meditate. I talk to my husband about it if I'm, you know, overwhelmed about something, or I feel like I'm not up to par, or if I'm frustrated about something. I try to just express it and get it out.
Get it out there.
Yeah.
So is that how you deal with stress? Like
Yeah, for the most part.
meditation.
Or I tried not to get into stressful situations at all, actually.
That's smart prevention, better
Yeah,
than cure.
like, you know, like, so I evaluate each project and what I need to put in it, time-wise, resources-wise, things like that. And if I know it's going to be too stressful and it's going to throw my family life out of balance, I opt out of it, you know? So,
And do you have any special little tips and tricks on how to stay present? Like someone once told me, you observe everything with all your senses. So first, like, what am I tasting right now? What am I seeing, hearing,
Yes.
feeling? Do you do anything like that?
I just breathe, you know, breathe. And I have this tool called
So
the Love
simple.
Tuner.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of it?
No.
I actually brought one for each of you girls. It's there. I forgot to give
Guys,
it.
we
I
have
should've-
prezzies.
Yeah, I brought presents. So basically, a Love Tuner is a necklace you wear around your neck, and it looks like a little bullet, but it's a mindfulness tool.
Wow.
So you pull it out and then you blow on it like a whistle, but that sound is the 528 frequency, which is a frequency of love, miracles, and healing. Now,
love
Coldplay composes in this 528 frequency. U2 composes in 528 frequency. There's a lot of things around the planet is 528 frequency, but it's this frequency where it, like, you experience complete body mindfulness. So I have that. So I use that all the time, but I forgot to bring it right now.
Thank you so much. So
You're
basically, you're
welcome.
giving us mindfulness bling.
Yes,
wear.
there you go.
To-
I like that.
Thank you.
Mindfulness bling.
And when you get your you time, what's a must do in your daily life? Do you, aside from like the masks and the bubble baths and the reading, do you pray or do you do like extra yoga? Or
Massage.
yes.
I try not to do anything. When I have extra you time, I'm like, oh God, I'm going to lie down for a second.
Yes,
Take a
queen.
nap.
Massage.
Massage. Have someone take care of me for a change.
That's so nice. Yeah. And what's your take on technology and kids? Do you plan to introduce all the gadgets and apps slowly to your children, or maybe allow them to have their own social media like down the road, or is this something that they're already exposed to? Like, how do you feel about technology?
My kids are super young. You know,
Okay.
Ace is 4, Reese is 2. Their only experience of technology is really like a kiddie show on Netflix or something like that. But even that's limited to like 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
I think there's plus and minuses. I think if technology is such an amazing tool, you know, with the access you have with the information from all over the world, social media, how you connect to so many people in one go. So there is benefits to it, but I think it's about teaching them how to interact with it in a mindful way. You know, so even, there's awesome reading apps.
Yes.
So you can't avoid giving them an iPad because there's screens everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to be mindful of the content they're consuming as well. You know, I think for my little ones.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And it's new territory.
New
Because,
territory. And each child is different because my eldest one is like gravitates toward it, and my other one is like, you turn it off, he's like, he's fine. You know what I mean? So each child is different. So you just kind of gotta like see which one and know what's healthy boundary for them. Be like,
feel your
okay, yeah, we could do word party for 10 minutes, but after that, we're gonna take a nap, okay?
Yeah.
And like, you know, just get that conversation going. I think is
That's great, because there's some really scary things out there. Like I'm not sure if you've heard of this kid's video that was trending, where this like weird talking doll would tell the kids, like, give them dares and things to do, and then after a while,
I heard about this.
yeah, so people after that, I feel, became more vigilant on like their kids lock and things like that. But it's good to talk about these things, because back in the day, like, even growing up, we had literally, my friends and I would get pots and pans, bring them to the swimming pool, and pretend we were cooking like stews and potions, and that was our YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Like, can we
so
bring it
different.
back to that time, please?
Yeah,
You know?
it's the best.
Yeah.
We actually recently held our first set of kids workshops that introduced mindfulness to kids through art. What do you think of introducing different forms of art to kids at an early age? And like, what's a good age to start?
Oh gosh, as soon as they could open their eyes and look at you and see, you could do so many things. In terms of them interacting with you, I think 2 is a good age.
Oh, nice.
You know, because then that's when they really start interacting with the world around them. Because before 2, everything is about them. And then they realize at 2, it's like, oh, there's somebody else here.
There's a great
you know?
big world out there.
Yeah, and then they start, you know, looking to others for validation and things like that. So that's a great time. You know, I think every day is a great opportunity to show kids something new that they've never experienced before. And just, you know, their sense of wonder is actually incredible.
And do you find yourself learning as well in the process? Like, as you're introducing something new, yeah?
Yeah, totally. I think that's what makes motherhood fun for me. It's like I'm learning things through their eyes.
Wow, that's so precious. And how do you teach your kids mindfulness and positivity?
We're trying to instill on a daily basis gratitude and kindness, you know, like just simple things like when I give you something, thank you, mama, you know, something like that. Just those small gestures, I think, will reap big rewards later.
That's so great. I love me a good gratitude practice. If we had the time, I could talk for like, I don't know how long about how gratitude changed my life, but we're going to move on.
Yeah. I think
so
that's
great.
a dinner conversation.
Yeah.
Let's hang out at dinner. And we'll
Yeah.
chat.
If you were president or queen of the world and you could require everyone to do just one thing daily that would positively affect their lives, what would it be?
I would require everyone to do one random act of kindness for someone else
That's so nice.
and not tell anyone about it.
yeah, like not post about it.
Not post about it. It's just something you just do for someone else and out of the kindness of your heart.
Nice. And so tell us, what's next for Teresa Herrera?
What's next is baby number 3
Yeah.
coming in October.
Woo.
Yeah.
Halloween,
so,
baby?
mid-October, but yes, definitely going to be Halloween parties for this one.
Maybe a Scorpio.
Yeah.
Water baby again, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, exciting. We're so excited for you.
Thank you so much.
And if your sons happen to stumble upon this recording in the future, say 10 to 15 years from now, is there any podcast time capsule message you want to say to them?
Call your mother.
It's a good one.
You're never too busy to call your mother.
Aw. And last but not the least, what keeps you grounded?
Oh, my family. Love.
Thank you so much for your time today,
Thank
Teresa. I really enjoyed
you.
talking to you, and I got so many useful tips and insights. So thank you so much.
Likewise, and I'm excited for you and your journey.
Thank you.